Hello. Hello to all my favorite students in 3379. Of course, you know that's all of you. Um, I may sound a little bit different. My sinuses have started to act up on me, so I know some of you guys have mentioned being sick, so I certainly can relate to that. I just wanted to cover a couple of things, kind of let you know where we're going to go from this point because we've done all of our preliminary evaluation of our websites. And so this week you're writing the first draft of the recommendation report. So I'd say we're closing in on third base and rounding in to head home. So since we just finished the World Series, I figured I'd use some baseball analogy, right? So anyway, I pretty much got most of the info in the rest of the schedule filled out. There's a few things I need to finish up, and then I'll put the final in as we get closer to that. But for the next couple of weeks, I wanted to explain to you what we're going to do because it's a little bit different from what you may be used to, more than likely, probably how you experience turning in, say, reports or papers that you write for other classes. Most of the time when people turn in, a paper or a term paper or whatever you want to call it, you turn it into the teacher and the teacher says, what you did wrong or right. And really, that's not so much what writing's all about. That's kind of like the teacher taking on the role of an editor. And there are people that work as editors and they do a very good job at that. And by editing, I don't even mean just say grammar and spelling and those kinds of mistakes, but even good editors will give you information on how to change the content to make it better. But what you need to know and practice to be a better writer is to know how to do that editing, and I call it review. What we're going to be doing is we're going to do some review work with your recommendation reports. So here's the what we'll be doing next week. This article, Evaluating Testing as You Revise, it's here. It's a very good article. It's easy to understand, and it gives you some really, really good ways to think about when you do review writing. It talks about reader-based and writer-based. They use the word prose. Basically, that just means information, whatever you're writing in your document. The writer-based is going to make more sense to you, the writer, but you want the document that you're writing, in this case, you're writing it for whoever the contact person is for the website you're evaluating. You want your document, you want your report to be reader-based so that it's going to make sense to the reader or readers. So read this chapter. It's a really good, I think you'll find it useful for, students always are able to take away some good info from this that really, helps with that, like I was saying, that idea of learning to be a better reviewer of your writing because, you need to be able to, make those decisions and be able to think that way as you're communicating. So you will all want to choose someone and you'll post that and then you'll read this and then using that info, you will review the report of another student in the class because we always can do a better job when we look at someone else's writing. It's always harder to do with our own. So that's something you have to work a little bit harder on is getting better at doing it with your own writing. But as you practice it with other writing, then you're going to turn around and do that with your writing. So as we continue to work on your recommendation report, each week it should be better. You can't just keep using, just take what you wrote one week and dump it into the next week and the next week. It should continue to improve. And that's the main thing I'm going to look for. If you don't have that improvement, then you won't get the full points. Now, this first week, not not November 10th, but the week we're in right now, November 3rd. As long as you turn in your recommendation report, you've got everything in there you need. I'll give you full credit. And then we're going to take that information, and like I said, we're going to keep reviewing what you wrote for the recommendation report. Because the week after this is when you will, let me pull that up, November 17th. This is where, we brought up the idea of a web text. We talked about what those are. You're going to take your recommendation report and you're going to use the same information, but you're going to repurpose it so that it becomes a web text or a digital report. And that doesn't mean you just take it and dump it onto a web page to where it looks just like the text version of, what you wrote for last week. You're going to think about presenting it in the digital environment. You're going to use all that stuff we've been talking about, all that stuff you've been using to evaluate the websites that you've been looking at. So here, in a way, this is kind of a test to see if you're going to, put all of that into play. You're going to practice the things that you've learned. So you'll do that, and then we'll review. We'll go through another round where we'll review the web text. We'll do some review with those also. So those are some of the things that are coming up. But remember, the really, really important thing, see right here, work on making the text of the recommendation report stronger, more reader-based. What you wrote in your recommendation report was a first draft. Use the feedback you received last week. Somebody will have reviewed your first draft. So use the information you get. Make changes based on that. Also, as you review your own document, use the reader-based, writer-based thinking. Now, one other thing that I will do that's probably very different from what you're used to, for the recommendation reports that you turned in, I will take two, what do you call them? Volunteers. Couldn't think of the word. 2 volunteers. If you want to be a volunteer, I will take your report and I will do a review of the report using Camtasia. So, I'm using Camtasia to do this. Camtasia is a program. I shouldn't say Camtasia like you know what it is, but that's the program I use to make these videos. And basically, it's a screen capture program. So I will pull up your recommendation report and I will go through it and I will do the same kind of review that the article, the reader-based, writer-based article is evaluating and testing as you revise. So I will do that for two people who volunteer, and then I'll post those videos and you can watch those videos and look at those videos and use the feedback that those students are getting also to help you with the work you're doing on your reports, because I'm not going to go through and edit every recommendation report because, like I said, that just means I'm doing all the work of being the editor, and I'm not really teaching you guys to do the work of reviewing. So now I will be giving you feedback as we go, but it won't be what you're used to where you just turn it in and then I just give it back to you with a bunch of marks on it. So anyway, I wanted to explain that to you so that you'd kind of have an idea of what's going on. And I'll post in the updates forum as well about anybody who wants to volunteer so that you can respond to that if you want to have your recommendation, if you want me to review your recommendation report. So anyway, I'm not going to talk any more than that, partly because my sinuses are making it harder to do this, and I'll wait and see what questions you have on any of this. So anyway, I hope all of y'all are making it through the semester and doing okay. So keep posting your questions and keep doing a great job. Thanks a bunch.